Jeff the Killer. Jeff was a 13-year-old boy who moved to a new neighborhood with his brother Lou and their parents. On their first day of school, they were accosted by 3 bullies named Randy, Keith, and Troy, whom Jeff brutally beat up after they threatened them with knives. Lou took the blame for it and was arrested, sending Jeff into a deep depression. The bullies later attacked Jeff again at a party, and Jeff killed one of them, but not before getting covered in bleach and lit on fire by Keith. During this fight, Jeff's mind permanently snapped. When Jeff woke up, he was at the hospital and his head was wrapped in bandages. When the bandages were taken off, it was revealed that his face had become disfigured and ghastly pale from the burns, with bright red lips and a leathery texture. Jeff said he liked his face this way and laughed hysterically, but the doctor foolishly thought that this insanity was merely a side effect of the painkillers and let Jeff go home. Later that night, Jeff's mother found him carving his face into a permanent smile so that he would no longer have to exert energy to smile, as he put it, and burning off his eyelids so that he could always see his face. Jeff's mother went to her husband to tell him that their son was gone completely mad and needed to be killed, but Jeff caught them and stabbed them to death. This woke up Lou, who was recently released, with Jeff telling him, as he was about to plunge the knife into his body, "Go to sleep." Jeff then went on a serial killing rampage, killing those who refused to sleep at night, and as the story continued, Jeff renamed himself Jeff the Killer. Eyeless Jack. In the original story, a man named Mitch moves in with his brother Edwin after his house is foreclosed. A week later, Mitch wakes up with a large gash on his cheek. After going to the hospital, the doctor reveals that Mitch's left kidney had been surgically removed overnight. Around midnight that night, Mitch wakes up to see Eyeless Jack over his bed, wearing a blue mask with black liquid dripping from empty eye sockets behind the mask. Mitch manages to grab his camera and take a picture before Jack attacks, clawing at his chest. Mitch escapes and flees into the woods, where he trips and is knocked unconscious. When Mitch awakens in the hospital, it is revealed to him that Edwin had been killed the previous night. His parents drove him to the house to collect his belongings. When he enters, Mitch sees Edwin's corpse and a small object lying next to it. He observes it and finds out that it is his kidney, with a bite taken out of it, covered in a black substance. Ben Drowned was first encountered by Jaduso when he bought and played the Majora cartridge. During the recording of Day 4.WMV, he manifested himself in the form of the Elegy of Emptiness statue, an action he repeated each time the game was played. During the recording of Ben.WMV, it was revealed the cause of Ben's death to Jaducible. It drastically increased its activity during Drown.WMV, and even exercised the ability to either change the game from Majora to Ocarina of Time, or alter the video to the extent that it appears to be the latter. This video featured the first use of its signature phrase, "You shouldn't have done that." Ben's activity is believed to be initially minimal during Jaducible.WMV, as it redacted the first half of the first half of the video, then called Matt.WMV prior to its upload. Having promised to leave Jaducible alone if he helped it, it tricked him into playing further into its game. Ben wrote and posted the summary of Jaducible.WMV in the gist of Jaducible's non-existent roommate, and used the reader's obliviousness to escape via their download of the truth.rtf. It confirmed escape and free.wmv. The Rake. During the summer of 2003, in the northeastern United States, involving a strange, human-like creature, sparked brief local media interest before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little or no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Primarily focused in rural New York State and once found in Idaho, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with the creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remained powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration has accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and present day, spanning 4 continents. In almost all cases, the stories were identical. One popular story surrounding the rake was a suicide note, 1964. The story goes, "As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once, I awoke and felt his presence, and once, I awoke and saw his form. Once again, I awoke and heard his voice, and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever awake. Goodbye." Sonic.exe. The original Sonic.exe story centers on Tom, a young man who was a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, especially the older games. He claimed that he had not played any glitchy or hacked games before, though he admitted that he didn't want to after an experience he had. He then proceeded to recount his experience, saying how he received a CD and an accompanying letter from his friend Kyle, begging him to destroy the disc before it's too late and to not play the game. Ignoring his friend's warnings, Tom played the game and began to encounter odd, somewhat disturbing phenomena. From a title card featuring an evil-looking Sonic with bloody eyes and glowing pupils with a wide smile, to the presence of a file select screen similar to that of the one in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, with a red background and chilling music playing. As he picked the only available character, Tails, and began the first stage titled Hill Act 1, Tom continued to find more evidence that there was something wrong with the game, mainly the copious amounts of dead animals, all murdered in gruesome ways, and eventually encountering Sonic at the end of the level, standing completely still and with eyes closed. When Tails attempted to get his attention during a cutscene by tapping him on the shoulder, Sonic's eyes opened, then to the title screen, before cutting to black, with the message, "Hello, do you want to play a game with me?" In the next level, Hide and Seek, witnessed Sonic and Tails battling, despite inabilities to perform, before disappearing, teleporting in front of the distraught Fox, and killing him, cutting to black. Shocked, Tom reads the next message, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" After playing as Knuckles and losing a supposed boss battle with Sonic, Tom decided to take a break from the game. However, his rest was plagued by nightmares, featuring the corrupted Tails and Knuckles, and a demonic Sonic, with him in a cold sweat. Returning to the game, Tom picked Robotnik on the file select screen and continued with the game. At the end of the level, Sonic teleported in front of Robotnik, before the screen cut to red static. Then, a hyper-realistic image of Sonic appeared on the screen, with the words, "I am God." After the game ended, Tom turned around to find, to his utter horror, a bloody Sonic plushie on his bed. Tom's fate is ambiguous. Sally. In the summer of 1966, Sally and her friends played outside until her mother called her in for lunch. Marie announced that Uncle Johnny would be staying with them for work and to take care of his niece. In reality, he recently divorced his wife and needed a place to live. During Johnny's temporary stay, he began to abuse Sally, altering her usual personality and prompting concern from her friends, whom she lied to about her well-being. By 1970, Johnny continued his abuse unnoticed while Sally struggled to maintain her life and school performance. She disassociated during his assaults and sensed her friends growing suspicious, but avoided discussing her situation. When her friends planned a sleepover and carnival trip, Sally's mother noticed Johnny's weird behavior, but dismissed her worries. At the carnival, Sally felt Johnny's gaze and eventually confided in her friends about the abuse at home. From this, they gave mental support and urged her to tell her parents. On her 12th birthday, Johnny took Sally to get ice cream, but instead attacked her in the woods when she attempted to flee, leading to her murder. Sally later found out she was dead via her corpse and translucent body and was unable to communicate with her friends or family. Meanwhile, Marie began to uncover the truth about Johnny from Sally's friends, leading to a search for her daughter. After Johnny was captured, he confessed to his crime and was sentenced to life in prison. The tragedy left Marie devastated, leading to her mental decline. On the anniversary of Sally's death, her parents visited her grave before moving away out of town. Smile Dog. Smile Dog, also known as Smile.jpg, is a supposedly haunted image dating back to the beginnings of the internet. Smile.jpg has a reputation for driving those who view it insane, making its victims view it in their mind's eye at every turn. While it has been discovered that these images in victims' minds are the result of epileptic seizures, there is no clear understanding of why the image causes this. All the victims who spoke up about their experiences, however, have said that they are also visited by the dog-like creature in the image, named Smile Dog. When in these dreams, the only thing the victims can do is watch and listen, as the Smile Dog tells them that the only respite to their torment is to spread the word, and many of them receive shortly thereafter a removable media via email without a return address. Inside these media is said to be another copy or form of Smile Dog, which the victim is encouraged to spread to others. Those who claim to have seen Smile.jpg often joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dim room. The only background detail that is visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described being as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they are claiming to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reportedly split with a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly, repeated in their mind's eye during the times they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue interminably, often while the victim's asleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases, it is more effective than others. Laughing Jack. Created by a guardian angel, Laughing Jack was initially a colorful jack-in-the-box clown whose personality reflected the personality of his owners. He was later sent as a Christmas present to a lonely boy named Isaac Grossman in the 1800s. Isaac then abandoned Laughing Jack after being sent to boarding school. Laughing Jack grew monochrome and emotionless as a result of his isolation. Meanwhile, Isaac grew up to become a cold-hearted serial killer who kidnapped, tortured, and murdered several innocent neighborhood residents. Although horrified at first, Laughing Jack's personality soon emulated Isaac's evil personality. One day, Laughing Jack was accidentally released, and he appeared to be taller, darker, and demonic version of himself. Resentful of his treacherous owner, he tortured and killed Isaac with the same weapons he used on his victims. As time passed, Laughing Jack visited several other children, most of them lonely or neglected, and pretended to be their imaginary friend. However, he would eventually torture and kill them all, with their souls trapped in the nightmarish realm of an abandoned fairground. To make matters worse, the song "Pop Goes the Weasel" played in the background forever, tormenting them. Candle Cove. Back in 2009, this particular creepypasta was originally presented as a series of postings on a Fox forum titled Net Nostalgia, which saw several users having a back-and-forth discussion about their own fractured memories of a nightmarish children's show they all seem to remember watching when they were kids. The show, they recall, aired on a local station back in the 70s, and their chilling memories pieced together the basic gist of the madness they were subjected to. From what they remember, Candle Cove aired for just a few months and was about a little girl named Janice, who imagined she was friends with pirates. The characters were all played by creepy marionette dolls, and there was a villain too, a skeleton named the Skin Taker, whose top hat and cloak appeared to be made of children's skin. In one episode, which one of the people involved in the discussion misremembers as being a nightmare she had, the characters just screamed and flailed spastically for the entire duration. The story ends with the reveal that Candle Cove either never actually existed or it was only visible to children. One of the commenters on the thread relays that he visited his mother in a nursing home, and she told him he used to on TV and watch dead air for 30 minutes at a time. Slender Man. The Slender Man is a supernatural creature with nebulously defined characteristics and abilities. In almost every description of the Slender Man, his attributes will vary, sometimes greatly. However, his basic appearance and traits are relatively consistent across different accounts. He generally wears as a tall humanoid creature in a black or gray suit, red or black tie, and white shirt. His face is totally white, completely devoid of facial features. Slender Man has been depicted in imagery and literature at anywhere between 6 and 10 feet tall, depending on the situation. Though in videos captured of him, he appears to be between 6 to 8 feet tall. In almost every contemporary description, the Slender Man is associated with stalking, often for extremely long periods. It is not unusual for a person to be trailed by the Slender Man for hours, days, months, or even years. However, he usually appears when least expected and where the victim is alone and the most comfortable, and oftentimes he also strikes when the target's defenses are down, sometimes to the point where they simply have no will to fight him off, making it easier for him to kill them. On May 31st, 2014, two 12-year-old girls, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser, lured their friend Peyton Lettner into a wooded area in a park in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where they proceeded to stab her 19 times. But luckily, she survived. When caught by the police and asked why they committed the stabbing, They said it was to appease the Slender Man. Both Wire and Geyser were both separately sentenced to 25 and 40 years to life in prison. Last year in September, however, Wire was released on supervisional watch until the age of 35.